morning, it's Rev Trev. Friends, we're in chapter 23. It's a heavy chapter because in this chapter, Jesus is ministering for the last time and he's speaking out against the religious leaders. And as I said, the two words that appear in every sentence is woe and hypocrites. And so Jesus says, woe to you, blind guide. You say, if anyone swears by the temple, it means nothing. But anyone who swears by the gold of the temple is bound by that oath. And so being a guide is a great thing because you're leading people in a certain direction. But being a blind guide is not great because the blind cannot lead the blind. The blind will lead someone astray, lead people to the gates of hell, and that's exactly what they were doing. You see, according to the Pharisees, you could swear by the temple and then you could break your word. In today's context, it's almost like we would put our hands behind our back and cross our fingers and say, I'm telling the truth. But because our fingers are crossed, we say it doesn't count. And so they said, if you swear by the gold in the temple, then you could not lie. Then you had to fulfill what you swore. And so Jesus says in the next verse 17, you blind fools, which is greater, the gold or the temple that makes the gold sacred? And so Jesus says to them, you fools, because it's so ridiculous what they believe. Jesus says, how stupid are you leaders to think the way you do? Because he's saying to them, how does your logic work? What is more sacred? The gold or the temple? And obviously it's the temple. That was the place that God chose to dwell. And it's the temple because the temple's sacred. The gold in the temple becomes sacred. Not the other way around. And so we find that Jesus warned about swearing. He said in Matthew 5:34, but I tell you, do not swear an oath at all, either by heaven, for it is God's throne, or by earth, for it is his footstool, or by Jerusalem, for it's the city of the great king. And so Jesus warned about swearing. They had the thing, you can swear, there's two ways. One you cannot break, one you can break. You also say, if someone swears by the altar, it means nothing. But anyone who swears by the gift on the altar is bound by that oath. You blind men, which is greater, the gift or the altar that makes the gift sacred? Once again, Jesus makes another illustration. He says, how foolish you are. And so he says, you say you can make a promise. And you can say, I swear by the altar. And then you can break your word. But he says, if you cannot swear by the gift on the altar, then you have to fulfill your words. And Jesus is saying, once again, how stupid is your reasoning? It's the altar that is holy. And that makes what you place on the altar holy, not the opposite. It's sad, really, to see how wrong their theology was. Therefore, anyone who swears by the altar swears by it and by everything on it. And anyone who swears by the temple swears by it and the one who dwells in it. And so Jesus says, don't you understand that when you swear by the altar, you swear by the altar, by the gift, everything. When you swear by the temple, you swear by the one who dwells in it. The one who sits as if between the cherubim. And anyone who swears by heaven swears by God's throne and by the one who sits on it. Jesus says when you swear by heaven, you are swearing by the God who sits on his throne in heaven. You are swearing by the one, the creator of heaven and earth, the God who even created you. He's saying, don't you realize what you are saying, what you are teaching the people? Friends, we have to be careful to think that there's a difference between, sometimes people say, I'm only telling a white lie. And we fool ourselves almost like them. Because a lie is a lie. And so the Bible says that your yes must be your yes and your no must be your no. I'm always saddened when people say, even about Christians, and I know it in my own life, I've seen it. There are Christians where they say to you, tomorrow I'm going to come, tomorrow I'll show up, tomorrow I'll do this. Sometimes you think, I'll have to see if they're going to keep their word. That's very sad, because that's not the way a Christian is to live. I trust that this is not the way you live. And you don't put your hand behind your back or think, man, I'm going to lie now because God will understand. We need to be people of integrity. Our word must be our word. This is Rev Trev. Have a wonderful day today. God bless you.